Hello and welcome to MySecurityTV and our Tech and Sec Weekly and our Bug Crowd series. Today we're with the Hack the Hacker series and this follows on from our CSO perspectives. Today from Germany, Matt Held, Technical Program Manager with Bug Crowd. Matt, thanks for joining us.
Yeah, sure. Very happy to be here.
And in the UK, Katie Paxton-Fear, Ethical Hacker and Principal Security Researcher. Katie, thanks for joining us.
Thank you so much.
This is the good part of the series. We've heard from a number of CISOs and the like as terms of their bug bounty programs, but it's great to have a security researcher with us, Katie. But we might start with you, Matt, if we don't mind, just in terms of your sort of role as a technical program manager, the type of programs that you're managing, and that should be able to segue into what Katie's work involves.
Yeah, sure. So basically what I do, I kind of the middle person between customers and people like Katie who have secure applications. And I'm basically the one who sets up the programs, the bug bounty programs, the VDPs, the pen tests, whatever you have it, and then mitigates kind of every step of the way for the customer that they have with the hackers or with setting up the program in general. So basically, I'm a glorified translator. But yeah, that's basically my job. I interact a lot, of course, with customers, but I interact a lot also with the researcher community, people like Katie or other hackers. They're very active in the community. So
nice. Well, we might come back to in terms of the trends that you're seeing, particularly from the customer base as to what they're doing. But Katie, you do a little bit of work on NLP or neural linguistic programming and the like. What's some of the work that you're doing at the moment?
So I am a security researcher, which is a really cool job because I do a bunch of random stuff. I find vulnerabilities in software, I do research, and then I go present my research at conferences and share kind of what I've learned. So my research background is in AI. So I was very fortunate to be in natural language processing before AI really took off, before ChatGPT. So my field of study has kind of gone from being like very much people like never heard of it to like the thing people are talking about. And I have a PhD, so I bring my academic background into my security research and my hacking. So I kind of can find unique stuff that I don't think many other people can.
Very good. Well, I'm on your page, insiderphd.dev. Very impressive body of work that you have been doing. Again, how vulnerable is AI and the platforms that you're playing around with? And yeah, how you might approach it. Is it just a constant process of research and tinkering, or is it a little bit more mission driven in terms of a particular platform?
I think really with AI, it's a new technology. A lot of people are really rushing. And that's great, right? Like we want companies to take advantage of new technology like AI where they can and because it improves like our lives as consumers. I do see that with the rush to develop AI, a lot of folks, a lot of organizations kind of forget security in the middle. They're far more focused about being something like first to market, which definitely is important. That there's almost like an attitude of we'll figure out the security. Like that's a future problem. And that's really what I see when I talk to a lot of like AI companies. They're not really sure about security. And AI is weird as well because AI has been such an academic discipline for so long. A few years ago, my entire field of research and AI and NLP and like the security of it would have been like, oh yeah, that's like a fun thought experiment, right? But it's not practical. This isn't real vulnerabilities. And I genuinely think, the first big AI security vulnerability or the big breach is literally like months away. I think it's with so much data going around, with so many people coming to use AI in their daily lives now, I think it is literally just a matter of time before we see a massive breach.
And from your understanding on the coding and the training modules that sort of come around that, is it not possible to train this code to be secure, inherently secure? Why that gap?
So what we've got to remember is that AI isn't actually intelligent, which sounds weird because it's artificial intelligence, but it's not
It does what
intelligent.
you
It's
tell it to
very
do,
much
right?
it does what you tell it to do, and it's very much based on its training data. If you think about the entire history of computing, right, all the way back through the 90s, through the 80s to now, security is actually fairly new. You know, people weren't talking about security in the 2000s. I went to university for computer science. I was a developer. I never studied security. It
Wow.
was just something you were kind of expected to either know how to do, or more likely not really expected to know how to do. So for me as a developer, I didn't know anything about security. And because security is so new, it's just not in the training data. Most of the training data is insecure code. And so can we really blame AI for generating insecure code and generating, and not being secure, when actually the majority of the stuff it's trained on isn't secure? It hasn't been created with that security first mindset.
It sounds like we're just creating the same problems that we created when we created the internet in the first place, with we think security afterwards. Matt, there's some real messages here for the CISO community, but for developers at the outset. What's the sort of customer interest in getting their systems tested as early as possible in an ongoing basis?
Yeah, so we have a lot of customers I can talk about, right? For example, we have OpenAI as a customer, right? We've gotten them for ages, and they were very interested in getting it right from the get-go as soon as they had the ability. They're still an NGO, right? And once you test that, many of our customers, many products or SaaS startups are just leveraging OpenAI, just calling, hey, we got our own AI tool or whatever, and it's just basically a wrapper for OpenAI. So if you go in and properly configure that to a way that it is secure, at least you've done something so far. So the interest there on that side is pretty high. But we of course have customers that build their own, their own stuff, not on top of existing solutions, but rather train their own models and have their own AI based on whether it's any GPT, Claude, or DeepSeek, for example. And there the interest is way more focused on doing everything before the market launch, which I personally think it's great, and should be the way that we do things, especially like Katie just said, the first very big breach is going to happen. We already had smaller stuff like data leakage and stuff within DeepSeek and other models, or more insecure models. And like Katie said, the I in AI basically non-existent. It's a glorified dictionary, right? It just predicts the next
It's a very
pixel
smart Google.
or the next, exactly, or the next word, the probability of the next word coming in. So whatever you tell it to do, it's still very vulnerable to things. So whenever customers come to us stating, hey, we have built this own model, or we have built this own concept on top of our own AI, and we want to do this right here, right now, that's always very great. And the interest is very, very high as well, from them to get this before market. So kudos to that community. So we are doing something better than just launching it right from the get-go with other technologies.
And Katie, the vulnerability, if we talk about a major breach or incident that might yet come, is it through weaknesses within the prompt engineering process, or is it the access to the large sums of data and the data lakes that these systems access? Is it the front end or the back end where the real risk is?
So weirdly enough, I don't think it's either. Where I think the real risk, and as a hacker who hacks and gets paid when they find vulnerabilities, the part that I'm really looking forward to, I think it's going to be AI generated code. A lot of developers are using AI now to help them write code quicker, more efficiently. A lot of new startups are coming out from that vibe coding community. So I think there's a real risk of accidentally introducing a security vulnerability via AI generated code. I think that's where we're going to see it. And the other side, I think it will be just related to personal data. I think that with the amount of data that AI processes, I mean, both if you think about LLMs like ChatGPT, but also AI data platforms. A lot of organizations are throwing all their data into AI and going, analyze this or bring up trends. And, I think that's a real risk as well.
Is it because it's AI generated code and AI, it's easy to ask an AI that might understand the security to go find the vulnerabilities within that code? So the adversaries are empowered, and it's also easy for them to find vulnerabilities. What's happening on the AI security landscape? Because I'm as an editor, I'm getting pounded by PR telling me that every vendor is doing AI and has got integrated with NVIDIA and Microsoft and everything, that they're all wonderful. But as you say, if a lot of this is AI generated code, I imagine that creates AI generated weaknesses that other AI tools can start to exploit.
I think it's definitely a risk. I think it's definitely something that people are thinking about. But you don't need to be AI to abuse AI generated code. You could just be a human and do it.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think that is definitely a risk as well. The same way we use AI in order to make ourselves more efficient, we can absolutely expect adversaries to do the same. And we've already seen early evidence of this. We've seen it tends to be more on the ransomware side, but we've seen ransomware contain AI generated code. So it's definitely something to think about. And I think really with AI generated code and what I see as the kind of major risk there for a lot of organizations, when you're just trying to get stuff out as soon as possible, you start cutting corners. When you get error messages, when you code regularly, right? You get feedback. You're like, what you've done here is wrong. And it's wrong because the big X is a big red screen that says you're not allowed to do this, or it gives you an error message. With security bugs, they don't show error messages, right? They sit there silently. You do not know that your code is vulnerable to a vulnerability, like a security vulnerability, until it's exploited, right? Your first sign is usually realizing you were hacked. And I think that's a real risk, because where before you're getting that feedback going, oh yeah, I've done something wrong, I've got an error, I'm going to give that to AI and it will fix the error. Now you've got an error that's kind of sitting there silently in the code that you don't realize is there. And not being a security expert, you don't know what to even look for there. Which is where someone like me comes in.
And the only hope then is a ethical researcher or an ethical hacker finds it first. And I go, that's a good pitch for the Bug Crowd platform here, is really, if they are developing in that way, Bug Crowd on the Bug Crowd platform is the perfect way to go. Although we have heard that sometimes, they can find too many vulnerabilities and they're not in a position to fix them. But yeah, Matt, I suppose, how active is it for the community there? I've got two questions, so I'll come to Matt first. But two questions is, one, Katie, how much opportunity is on the Bug Crowd community platform for researchers? Is it busy and there's lots there to do? And then Matt, sort of the same question from you is, how active is the community and how active are they in solving these problems for clients?
So from the vendor perspective, so to speak, very active. I mean, we have more researchers than we can basically push programs to.
Yeah.
It's not only about the way that researchers are working and finding stuff, but also the interaction within the community between the hackers and the program owners or the customers themselves is so valuable to the customers that they say, hey, the researchers have become part of our team. They've become part of our basically SDLC, because of the way that they work, that they basically have everything tested, do automatically test, do static testing, and then push it to background, right? Where it's getting automatically pushed into the queue of the researchers saying, hey, we have new targets, go fetch, right? Then Katie and other folks do their stuff, and then suddenly, okay, we need to fix all this stuff we will put in production. So that's an optimal way to work, and it's working well.
Wonderful. Any particular trends, either industry trends or technology trends, in terms of platform trends that you're seeing?
Yeah, so first of all, of course, what we've been talking about for the last 50 minutes, AI, of course, there's a lot of trends going on there.
Well, I'd say maybe next level down within that, is it, over to you.
So that goes a little bit back to your first question about industry. We see a lot of stuff happening in the automotive sector or anything IoT related, hardware related, because let's face it, in the future, I personally believe that we won't interact with single apps anymore, but rather have one device, however that will look, that we will just tell what to do, and then we have multiple MCPs spawning in the background and doing that, like Siri on steroids, basically. And this interactive stuff is already coming into specific new IoT devices, or even in your car for some reason, because people want that. And of course, that is where the industry is heading. So everything integrated, and then everything that can improve the lives of the customers to the extent that they don't have to pick up a device or actually do stuff. It's very much trending right now, how the cool kids say.
It's an interesting. I don't want to go off on the tangent on the AI side, but it's a fascinating. I'm seeing where this is going to, and so it'll be more with less in terms of the single pane of glass that the customer sees, and it'll be from the car, from the home to the plane, wherever they go. It's a one single AI that's doing everything. And Katie, that sort of comes back to the vulnerability and the risk here is, a powerful, one single powerful platform for that customer. If something goes wrong, it's almost lights out in terms of what can happen. The opportunity there for researchers there sounds like it's endless. I suppose how busy is it? You've got to sort of choose how lucrative it can be for you.
Yeah, I mean, one of my favorite things, I always say this, right? The reason why I do bug bounty hunting and not pen testing is that I am a chaotic person. I do not want to try and find every vulnerability in like one thing, because I'm very much somebody who gets bored quite easily. So the fact that I can find like a vulnerability in one company, then switch to another, then find a few there, and then switch to another, and then do nothing. I think there's a lot of opportunity and scope for security researchers. I think really what I would recommend that any security researcher does is really like try and get a niche, like get a niche into something like AI testing, or where we've got MCP servers, get a niche like that. But I think there's still quite a lot of opportunity outside that as well. Like the bug bounty community is changing constantly. I go to a lot of Bug Crowd's Bug Bash events, and the difference in the community every single year, I see new people, right? Like there is always folks joining the community, being a part of the community, and then, maybe moving on, or, sticking around for a number of years. So I think there's a lot of opportunity there. I think you've got to be smart about how you take advantage of that opportunity and like what programs you choose to hack on, because as Matt said, security researchers, we end up being a part of the security team at a lot of organizations, both in like a way that, we're indispensable, but also like actually a lot of folks get hired by security teams through their bug bounty work, right? And also when it comes to quite a lot of like the more complex clients, there are people and bug bounty hunters that know the like software and the product better than the people who work at the company, because they spend hours a day looking at it for security vulnerabilities. And quite often, it's not so much that you're telling the triager or the program owners, oh, you've got a security vulnerability in this module. We're like, by the way, you have this module and it has a security vulnerability, right? Like, we're telling them what assets they have. And I think that's such like a really great advantage for a lot of organizations as well, right? Like, seeing what someone like me can see from the outside, it puts you a lot closer to how your adversaries see your infrastructure, right? So if I can find it, then so can they.
Very much. It's it's very consistent to the series that we've been running. Bug Crowd is there as a force multiplier and for the security teams, and also the diversity of skill sets that is required on across these different platforms. They can't afford to hire everybody within those skill sets. They do need.
And I think when it comes to diversity, that's one of the biggest advantages, I think, of bug bounty hunting. If you think about, if you're an organization, right, and you are based in San Francisco, right, you're a SaaS startup, you're based in San Francisco, the people you're hiring are going to be usually white men in San Francisco. And actually, if you think about who's actually attacking you, it's a very different kind of person, right? That's somebody who might be based in, another country. It might be someone who English isn't a first language. It might be somebody who, you never would have hired in the first place. You wouldn't have had access to that person's skills or experience. So if you're just having people on your security team who come from, one like area or like one field or just one perspective, you're missing out on a ton of security vulnerabilities. And that diversity is what makes, the bug bounty platform work, right? Like, being able to tap into a very diverse skill set outside of who you'd normally be hiring to find the security vulnerabilities that your attackers are going to find.
Absolutely. It goes both ways as well. The developers are exactly like that, aren't they? They're more silo mentality or silo group, trying to push it out to an international audience, and they miss the mark on many occasions. They can't think of everything either. Matt, your thought there in terms of the diversity?
That's one thing that I want to say. Many companies are still hiring security people like they hire developers, right? It's like, okay, you need to have this particular type of skill set to work with us. But actually, that is, to Katie's point, the wrong approach, because the people that might be actually the real adversaries that might be attacking you have a completely different mindset, skill set, and cultural background, and approach stuff completely different. So if you're just looking at it from one way, and that's why I'm also not a fan of checkbox exercises as well, but rather from bug bounty exercises. Just having the ability to tap in a very vast pool makes it way more secure. And I saw that happening with our new product we just launched, Red Teaming as a Service, where it's basically we try to accomplish a goal. It's not like bug bounty. We are not trying to find technical vulnerabilities. There might be part of that, right? And we can tap into a vast pool of researchers, basically saying, okay, we need initial access to this. They have this part of infrastructure, right? Can you help us get initial access? And people from all diverse backgrounds, right, can see, yes, I have the ability to do that. And apart from having a static red team at your company that has specific skill set, we have all the skill sets, right? We will leverage Katie, we will leverage somebody else, right, to focus on a specific task to get initial access, for example. Then we have other people doing the other stuff. So this is what's so great about the researcher community. It's not only the way that they are trying to help, but the vast interest and the vast tinkering that they want to do, because it's in the blood. It's just amazes me, right? And that's what resonates with all the customers as well. But they're like, hey, we've never have thought of that, right? Even if you go in. Oh, sorry. Go ahead, Chris.
No. Well, I was just going to say that it really does explain why the Bug Crowd platform is growing rapidly internationally. The other sort of trend we've seen is, used to be a while ago that bug bounties was seen as, that's a bad signal that you obviously can't manage your own security, whereas now it's a lot more accepted. Yeah, maybe Katie, your thoughts on that? Definitely a trend we've seen recently and through this series from in the terms of the CISOs. They're happy to put their platform out onto a bug bounty platform like BugCrowd because I think it shows integrity and honesty within their own security, right?
Yeah, for sure. And I think this is part of a wider trend where, a few years ago, if you're a hacker and you're trying to, maybe you find a vulnerability by accident, right? Maybe you're booking flights one day and you're like, oh, wow, I'm able to, book this seat without paying for it. If you tried to report that, even if you found it by accident, you would probably get a legal threat. You'd probably get someone saying, how dare you touch our software? And it's like somebody who genuinely cares about security, for hackers who are, who have nothing but good intentions, right? That's really demoralizing. And it's hard to deal with as well. Like having to find the person, the company who's responsible, having to reach out to them, not getting a reply, having to find other people, ends up being a full-time job just to find out like who to speak to get a security vulnerability looked at by like the right team. And in a lot of organizations, it's still happening. There's a lot of organizations who haven't embraced something like bug bounty, even like a vulnerability disclosure program, right? Like they don't even have anything. You'll be lucky if you get a reply if you email the security at email address. And, I think that it kind of represents a wider trend within security research that a lot of organizations see the value in being more available. They're not sending legal threats. They're asking, hey, come and hack us. We want to see how you can do it. And I think the organizations that do, they have a lot more, maturity of their programs, because obviously, if you have a lot of vulnerabilities and you start bug bounty program, you start paying out bounties, it's going to be expensive. But they also just have a more mature, vulnerability intake. They know what to do. They know the kind of vulnerabilities that their platforms have. They know kind of at least where to start. And I think that's really valuable for a lot of organizations. And on the hacker side, I'm just happy I don't get legal threats. And there's still companies where I report stuff like ethically for them. It's not stuff I've been actively hacking. It's stuff that I'm finding accidentally, and I can't even find the person to speak to. And even then, it's like, well, do I really want to go through the like pain of having somebody threaten me and having to go to court or something like that? Have the police show up at my door? No, I'm just not going to report it, and then that vulnerability will be abused by an attacker in a few months.
I think you've shown the signal there to Matt with your customers is the maturity of those that are it actually has swung the other way. So the fact that they are running, because it's definitely something we've heard on the CISO side, it's you need to crawl before you can walk and then run, because as Katie points out, it's almost like not trying to swallow the ocean, but if you've got a lot of vulnerabilities and you're not prepared to manage them, then it may not work. So you do need a mature sort of cyber posture and a sort of skilled team at that side, right?
Yeah, most likely. So there are 2 points to be made for this. Yes, you will need to have the ability to actually take on everything, like you said, possibility to swallow the ocean, right? But also, if you don't do that, right, the possibility of you getting breached big time and losing all of your customers, that is a risk that I'm a CISO as well at another company, right? That's also a risk I would not be willing to take, right? If especially here in Germany, the legislation here, when you have a data breach, will pull you down really bad from legislative side as well. So personally, I believe everybody should at least have the ability to intake vulnerabilities via VDP or responsible disclosure form, right? Even if you're not paying for it, at least people like Katie and other ethical hackers have a way of reporting stuff so that you can fix it before really bad stuff happens, and you then develop internally a way of working with your team, with your development team, with in worst case the C-level people you have to kind of convince to take this on, right? And everybody grows with it. Your team, your developers, and the customer base as well.
It's been another takeaway. These are really key points that we're hitting on. Is the learning outcomes, particularly from the client side and the CISO side. That's definitely been the message from their end. Is they do find it's a learning process that, as you say, Katie, they don't see it. They can't see it all at once. Look, I could literally talk to you two all day on this. But I think also Katie's website tells a big story too in terms of your background, Katie. So you're obviously extremely experienced, and so keep up the good work. And then Matt Held, you've got someone with a real job, I say, that you're sitting in the middle, talking to customers and clients in the middle. So Matt Held, a technical program manager there in Germany with BugCrowd. Thank you. And in the UK, Katie Paxton-Fear, ethical hacker and principal security researcher. Thank you for joining us on the Hack the Hacker series as part of the BugCrowd series on MySecurityTV. Enjoy the rest of your day.
You too, Chris. Thank you.
Thank you so much.